Let's start off with this. A White House meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance on the one hand, and then Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has ended on a tense note. Trump offered Zelensky an ultimatum: make a deal with the United States or Washington would end the support it has given Ukraine since the Russian invasion.
Yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards. You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
And the latest is a planned media conference in Washington has been cancelled after the meeting soured. President Trump has said on social media that President Zelensky is not ready for peace and can come back when he's ready for peace. Trump has slammed Zelensky for disrespecting the White House. To discuss this, I'm now joined by former U.S. diplomat Brooks Spector. Mr. Spector, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Quite a heated exchange. Is it one that was expected between the two presidents?
Well, good evening. Good to be with you. This was extraordinary. I think we're all going to be at loss for words with this one. Look, the meeting was obviously going to be, to some degree, tense. It was obviously going to be blunt in some ways, but I don't think anybody expected what amounted to tag team wrestling in the middle of the White House. The serious issue is, well, there are several. Let's take them one at a time. Whatever agreement was about to be initialed about the so-called rare earth minerals deal, that obviously has not happened, and now apparently isn't going to happen, at least not for a while, until the temperature drops. But second, what should concern people is that so much of what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, the vice president, said or screamed what was remarkably similar to the kind of briefing notes, the kind of comments that Russian President Vladimir Putin and Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, have been saying over the last number of years. Things like the Ukrainian behavior, it is pushing the possibility of nuclear war, World War III, and the mind boggles at some of this. In the end, the cameras, if you were watching it on CNN or Sky News or some other medium, you could see the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States with her head in her hands. Who knows what she was about ready to say, and American Secretary of State Marco Rubio looking positively ashen-faced, like he just witnessed a terrible car crash. And in the end, Donald Trump basically encouraged, I think is a polite way of saying it, Volodymyr Zelensky to leave the White House without any agreement, without any follow-up press conference, without any signing event. This was a disaster. This was, I don't remember, and I've been watching diplomatic behavior for a very long time, and I think the last time I saw something this blunt among people that presumably were working together, well, I can't think of anything. The only thing I can think of is the antagonistic behavior between Vice President Richard Nixon and Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev in Moscow at an exhibit of American home materials, the so-called kitchen debate. And even that was conducted with a certain degree of politeness, bluntness, but polite. This This was just a multi-car car smash.
Right. And it's happening and playing out on the world stage. I mean, President Trump released a statement on Twitter. He released a tweet, and part of it read that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if Americans involved because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace. What do you think he means by that?
Well, if we, we've all watched the American position move astonishingly over the last 10 days or so, from being a slightly reluctant but reasonably reliable supplier of weaponry and financial support for the economy to Ukraine, and then with various American officials saying, in Europe that this is Europe's problem to solve, and then Donald Trump saying things to the effect that they will just have to sort this out. There are too many people who are dying. We're going to make peace, and it will be done our way, and shifting the U.S. position dramatically, let's be blunt, to Vladimir Putin's position and his positions in the ongoing negotiation. You remember the negotiation that took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was between the United States and Russia. Ukraine was not invited. Europe was not invited. And now I suspect if there are further discussions, it is most unlikely that the United States will even engage with Ukraine as part of any ongoing negotiation. This really is going to have horrible ripples in all directions. Some people have said, jokingly, in a very sad way, that they're popping champagne corks now in the Kremlin on the basis of the way that discussion in public took place and the way Donald Trump basically echoed the Russian position on the war.
And of course, then it only leaves the question of what then happens to the Ukrainians. Where does this leave President Zelensky? But most importantly, for what's happening in that region.
Oh, yes. No, I mean, the Ukrainians are obviously not going to lie down and just say, okay, we've decided we will all like to become Soviet Russian citizens again. Sorry, my age is showing when I said the word Soviet, isn't it? Interestingly, Volodymyr Zelensky is supposed to visit soon South Africa to meet with Cyril Ramaphosa.
Right.
The mind boggles how that's going to go now, given this as background. The Ukrainians will fight on. It will be increasingly brutal. It will be increasingly difficult for them. Even if the Western European nations step up their supplies, there are some things that are simply easier and more efficiently and in more numbers obtainable from the U.S. than from all of the Western European nations combined. It's going to be hard going for them. It also means Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, perhaps. They are all going to be looking very, very carefully at their own increasingly precarious position vis-a-vis the Russians. It's going to be a very unpleasant couple of time period up ahead. I mean, how long that's going to be, it's anybody's guess now.
Most certainly. And of course, you mentioned rather the visit from President Volodymyr Zelensky to South African meeting President Ramaphosa. Joel Pollak also just sent a tweet saying, will Zelensky seek asylum in South Africa after that self-destructive display? He's not going to be safe at home, and he's set to travel to South Africa anyway. So certainly a lot expected to happen in the next couple of days. Thank you so much for your time and for your inputs. That was Brooks Spector, international relations expert, speaking to us there about what is happening between the U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.